Good evening and welcome to the Penfield Town Board Legislative Meeting of Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. May I ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, and may I ask the town clerk to give the roll?
Cinti.
Here.
Drawe. Here. Kohl.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Ockenden.
Here.
Thank you very much. I'd also like to note for the record that our Director of Developmental Services, Director of Finance, and Director of Public Works are with us this evening, and also our Town Attorney, Mr. Horwitz. And speaking of Mr. Horwitz, Dick, we have a proclamation for you because this is a very special meeting. This is your last meeting as our town attorney. How long has it been?
A little over 40 years.
A little over 40 years. Okay, so. Dick, we'd like to read the proclamation into the record, if it's okay with you.
I find it legal.
All right, so I have a proclamation here for Richard Dick Horwitz, celebrating over 40 years of service to the town of Penfield. Whereas Richard Horwitz has proudly served as Penfield Town Attorney since 1982, and whereas he will be retiring from his post after 40 years, and whereas his service to the town of Penfield dates back even before his work as town attorney, with time spent on the conservation and planning boards, and whereas he has contributed to thousands of town board resolutions over the years, thousands, giving each one a detailed review and a tweak here or there until they reach perfection. And whereas his recollection of details included in a case file can lead you on a search for a yellow legal-size sheet of paper with a hand-scratched note from decades ago. And whereas Dick is a fixture at the town hall, known for his great sense of humor, calm demeanor, and eating prowess, particularly donuts. Whereas if he's ever pulled you aside and asked you for a minute, you were sure to be in for a lengthy conversation. The question really should be, hey, do you have a minute? Whereas his positive attitude is infectious, even in the most difficult of situations. And whereas Dick has successfully overseen numerous land acquisitions and the formation of various districts, and whereas he is a master mediator, never encountering a disagreement that he couldn't fix. Well, except that one time with the sidewalk easement on Penfield Road.
It was a classic.
Now be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board recognizes Dick for his incredible service to the town of Penfield and his residents. And be it further resolved, the Penfield Town Board thanks him for his countless contributions and wishes him nothing but happiness and relaxation in retirement. And this is dated July 20th, signed by myself and on behalf of the town board members here. Thank you so, so much for your service. Dick, I'm going to come around and present this to you, but
right.
If you would like to speak and will say a few words, you're more than welcome to.
No, it could be too lengthy.
Well, there's ice cream in the back, and you want to get it before it melts, right? Just kidding.
I think I can skip a speech for right.
There's no ice cream.
She's kidding.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank each and every one of you. It means a lot, quite a bit.
Dick, you're going to have to speak into the microphone.
I know. I mean, over 40 years, we've seen a lot of changes in the town of Penfield. The growth in areas that were undeveloped, improvement of our residential and business areas, the acquisition of open space, the development of more parkland, extending water to all areas of the town, sanitary sewers, completing all the infrastructure requirements for the town. It's been very meaningful. Thank you.
Dick, I'd also like to just give you a personal thank you from myself, because I know that you probably could have retired at the end of the year, and you stayed specifically to assist me as a brand new supervisor with the transition, and I am forever grateful, and I very much appreciate your service to myself personally in the community. Thank you so much.
You're certainly welcome, and I don't know if you'll have any more questions, but if you do, feel free to call.
I know where to find you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We also have another special presentation this evening. I would like to ask Phyllis Ely from the town of Penfield, or formerly from the town of Penfield, to come up to the podium. Phyllis was our Director of Information Services for several years at the town, and she also is an artist by trade and by avocation as well. So she very kindly donated 2 paintings that will now hang in the auditorium. I am hoping that you can describe these, because they're very significant to Penfield's history. So you might have to use a microphone.
How's this? Am I on?
Why don't you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Not at an energy meeting. So many people interested in art tonight. This is really cool. Thank you for coming. These are pastel paintings that depict the casting of the Daniel Penfield statue that you may be familiar with in the Four Corners. And this was done back in 2010 for the bicentennial. And I had the privilege of being part of the team that was working with the artist for the creation of the statue. And I attended the casting. Once the statue was built in clay, it then gets cut into several sections, and each is molded and then cast with bronze. And I attended the casting with PCTV, with Penfield Television. And I was shooting stills, and they were shooting all this great video. And it was so exciting. It's a very small space. The floor is sand. It's noisy with the heat of all of the molten metal, all of that burning. And these 2 gentlemen are the one. Let's see, I've lost track. Don is the one in the yellow. He's the artist. He's the sculptor, Don Sotil. Dexter Benedict is his colleague, who is also a sculptor, but it's his foundry that we were in. And these 2 guys have worked together for decades with pouring bronze and doing sculptures. And they can't talk to each other. It's so loud in there. So I was just fascinated with the process and how intense and how scary it was. And the trust that they had in each other going through this process, because one slip and it's done. There's only one mold for each of these parts. So after having had that experience, I came back to my studio as a painter and was very excited to try and tell that story and describe an important piece of art that the town of Penfield owns that's in the Four Corners. So that's what that's all about. This one is called The Lift. And you know, look at the size of that cauldron. It's full of, I don't even know what the temperature was. There's more behind them ready to be used. And then the 2 of them just have this pivoting tool where they lower the metal down into those molds. And it was pretty exciting. And then after they cool, they all get reassembled and then welded together. And then all the finishing takes place. But next time you go by the Four Corners and you look at the statue, there was years of work that led up to it being there in the park. So That's what that is. And I wanted the town to have these as long as they were in a public place, so you're really the first audience that's seeing them.
Right, this is the
it.
world premiere of
World premiere.
these paintings. Phyllis, thank you very, very much.
you're
We
very
really,
welcome.
really appreciate the
very
donation, and they just look so beautiful on the town hall wall, so
Well,
very pretty.
It's good to see them here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do want to acknowledge Councilperson Kohl, who actually headed up the Bicentennial Committee in 2010, and I'm sure had a very lot to do with, had a very heavy hand in this, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we have one proclamation to also read into the record that was presented last week, and I'd like to turn to Councilperson Drawe for that.
Thank you, Supervisor Cinti. So as the supervisor said last week, the supervisor and myself were honored to be at the 100th birthday celebration of Mr. Rocco A. Cerretto, and he is Penfield resident. He was celebrating the incredible milestone of his 100th birthday, and he courageously served in World War II in the United States Army in the 69th Signal Unit from January 1943 to November 1945. And whereas he landed during the second day of D-Day, spending time in England, France, and Germany. And he also marched with General George S. Patton, and he was liberator of the concentration camp at Drawe. And whereas Mr. Cerretto was the recipient, and there's a picture of him on the screen now, of the Bronze Star and the French Foreign Legion of Honor for his bravery during the war. So now be it resolved that Mr. Cerretto is the epitome of bravery and what it means to be an American hero. The Penfield Town Board extends its gratitude to Rocco and we wished him a very happy birthday and a very happy year. And this was dated on July 13th when we were there, and you can see him right there, and signed by our supervisor, Marie Cinti, and the members of the town board here. So it was a beautiful morning to be out there, and it must have been 200 people out there in a parade for him. So we thank him for his service. Wonderful day.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to pass this to the town clerk, just to enter into the record. We'll move on to our announcements, starting with our town clerk. I believe you have an announcement about Shepherd Home Golf Tournament.
Yes, the Shepherd Home is a non-for-profit hospice care home in Penfield that provides comfort and compassionate care to members of our community with terminal illness. This year, their annual fundraiser and it is a golf tournament, will be held on Monday, August 15th at Shadow Lake Golf Club, located at 1850 5 Mile Line Road. Registration begins at 10:30 a.m. with a shotgun start at noon. Cocktail hour and awards will begin at 5:30 p.m. and dinner will be served at 6 p.m. The registration fee is $125 per golfer or $500 per foursome. And if you would like to join us just for dinner, that cost is $40. There are several sponsorship opportunities still available. And for more information, you can contact me by emailing me at steckloff@penfield.org, or you can also call me at 340-8629, or you can also call the Shepherd Home for more information at 381-0890.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Councilperson Ockenden?
Yes, Supervisor Cinti, I do have one announcement tonight. Just want to take a minute to inform the public that the town of Penfield has several employment opportunities available. The town is currently hiring in the following departments: the building department, sewer department, engineering, community TV, IT, justice courts, history room, highway department, public works, assessor's office, and facilities. If anyone from the public is interested in any of these departments, I ask you to visit our website at www.penfield.org/employment. And there'll be additional information on the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilperson Kohl?
Okay, I have an announcement for the following summer concert schedule. It's coming towards the end, but there's still 4 concerts coming up. One is Hey Mabel, the group is, and it's July 26th at 6:30 down here at the Amphitheater. And then it's Judah Seeley, August 2nd, 6:30. And Mr. Mustard, the Beatles tribute band, will be here August 6th at 6:30. And Top Player Hole, kid-friendly group, August 16th at 6:30. And if you want more information, you can go to penfield.org/events. But they're always, fun to go to, and it's been a beautiful summer. I hope people will come out and enjoy the last 4 concerts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lee.
The town of Penfield has a safety reminder that for campfires, we're recommending that campfires remain small for easier control, a recommendation to never use gasoline or other flammable or combustible liquids, always have a hose, a bucket of water, or a shovel and dirt or sand nearby to extinguish the fire, and please be sure to put it out completely for neighborhood safety. Thank you.
Okay, finally, I do have one more announcement regarding safety, public safety. We've received many complaints at the town hall recently about speeding, not only on our main roads, but also in neighborhoods. And I'd like to ask the community to please be mindful of speed limits. Please be mindful that there are people walking or biking or kids playing nearby, and to please be a good neighbor. I realize that most of us probably do mind the speed limit, but please share that message. That's also on our town Facebook page as well, if you'd like to share that out. We just want everyone to be safe. And we have also reported our concerns to the Monroe County Sheriff as well. So thank you. All right. This evening, we have a very lengthy agenda, including 3 public hearings. And the first one is to receive public comment on the proposed use of state and local fiscal recovery funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, to be used for town projects. Before we open it up for citizen participation, I do want to ask our Director of Finance to...
Excuse me,
Yes.
Supervisor Cinti, I do have to legally mention about the postings.
Sure, no problem. Sorry.
That's okay. The legal notice was published in the Webster Herald on July 6th, 2022, posted on the town's website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a townwide action.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry. Now, for the Director of Finance, if we could talk a little bit about it, just to let people know where we're at, and then we'll obviously open it up for public participation.
Do next one.
So as everyone is aware, the town did receive funding under ARPA for state and local fiscal recovery funds. We received a total of $3.8 million, one tranche in 2021, and the second tranche we actually just received yesterday. And the intent of the ARPA funds is it's to cover revenue that was lost due to COVID-19's impact for the provision of governmental services. And the federal government encourages all communities that received ARPA funds to look at funds as a long-term benefit to the community, things that are most impactful for your community. As far as rules of use, all the funds must be obligated by December 31st of 2024. Essentially what that means is we have to be in contract with someone or things on order by the end of that year, and then the funds must be fully expended by 2026. So, which is why the town board, when the first money was received last year, there's been a lot and a lot of input from the community already, and to develop what were some of the top priorities for the community, and didn't want to rush into making any decisions just because we received the money. So they've definitely taken their time to make sure that we spend it as in the best way possible to benefit all. As I mentioned, the 2 tranches were, one was received last year, one received this year. And then actually now I'm going to let the supervisor take over and describe a little bit of the process a little bit further.
Okay, thanks. If you've been watching the town board meetings, you know that this has come up in work sessions prior to this evening, and we had a few criteria that we used in coming up with this short list of projects. We wanted to be sure that it benefited as many people as possible, also different demographics in the community. We also wanted to make sure that they were spread geographically around town and were, for the most part, very tangible things that you could see and experience, and also to be mindful of the continuing growth of the town. We came up with a short list of projects. This does not include all the monies that are available. If you were listening to Barbara, she did mention that we received $3.8 million. The projects we've proposed here come to roughly $2.5 million. The reason we are not allocating all of it all at once is we want to make sure that we have the money in case of inflation, in case of rising costs, or something like that. So we're going to take our time with it. And just to talk about the first few projects, first of all, Shadow Pines infrastructure. As you recall, the town board bought that piece of property and has dedicated it to passive and active recreational use. Regardless, it will still need restrooms and shelters. It will need a parking lot. It will need utilities. So we're hoping to use the ARPA funds for that. Additionally, we wanted to start laying the groundwork for pickleball courts and have pickleball courts put in. This would benefit our seniors, our senior citizens have not had a lot of new facilities or amenities for a while. If you look at our rectangular fields, our playing fields, we're growing those, but we haven't done much for senior citizens, so wanted to do that as well. We also have an upgrade to LED streetlights. This would be updating our fixtures. It would save us about 60% of costs over time. They are more reliable and they are brighter, so increased public safety. Eric, is there anything you'd like to add to that? No? Okay. Lastly, we also wanted to look at our town center, our Four Corners improvements, and I received many comments, as do the other town board members, about how the Four Corners looks, and we think we can use some of these funds to improve it and to improve the user experience. That would include things like concrete pavers and giving it more of a decorative feel and a border feel to it. Altogether, this would account, all these projects together would account for $2.5 million, and I think the breakout is in front of you, as I recall.
It was, yeah.
There you go. Okay. So originally we had scoped out the Shadow Pines project at about $1.5 million, and that is no longer an appropriate amount given the amount of inflation and the cost of materials increase. So that's where we are. Obviously, we've had feedback all along the way, but we did want to open it up for public participation this evening as well. I'm assuming that several of you would like to speak tonight. I'm seeing a full house.
We have a number of people who have requested that have signed up.
Okay, great. I don't have anyone on the phone yet, and I don't have anyone online. If you would like to speak, remember you can reach us at 340-8771. You can also participate in person, as several of you are here. And you can also reach us through the website at penfield.org. So there are 3 opportunities to participate in this public hearing today. So would the town clerk like to call forth someone?
Yes, I do want to say that most of these have not listed which public hearing you'll be speaking of today. So I'm just going to start out, and if this is not the public hearing you want to speak about, just let me know which one it is, and then I'll put it aside for that next public hearing. So the first person I have is Alla Levy.
Okay, if you'd like to come forth, you can sit up right up here.
You can sit.
Yes. You'll also have to just turn the microphone back around, and you can start with your name and address.
Sure. Hi, hello everyone.
Hello.
My name is Alla Levy, and I live at 45 Pound Valley Circle. And I've been playing pickleball. I retired recently, not too long ago. And one of the first things I started to do is to play pickleball. and I absolutely adore it. I just love it. It's such a wonderful way to meet people, to get exercise, and to just do something instead of just sitting around when you're retired, right? So what I want to say is that I've seen courts, other courts, that people play. Usually it's tennis courts that have been transformed into pickleball courts. And so it's not proprietary courts for pickleball. And it's not the same thing as playing in a beautiful facility. Hello? What happened? Do you hear me?
Yep.
No. Okay. It's not the same thing as playing on a pickleball court that has, like edges, and it has the back so you don't lose the ball doesn't go flying back and forth. And very frequently the tennis courts are not in the best of shape. They're like falling apart, there's grass growing where it shouldn't be. So I'm very much for this. I think this is a way to bring people together. I think that people will really enjoy each other's company there. And it's a beautiful place where the place where we want to build it is just a beautiful place. And 16 courts, that's amazing. I mean, you can have all kinds of tournaments there, and just a wonderful way for the community to come together. And I lived in Penfield for 35 years, so this is my home. This is my home, and I want to have a place to go and really enjoy myself outside.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. Mark Banford?
Oh my gosh. Blast from the past.
Yeah, I know a few people here. My name's Mark Banford. I'm a racket sports professional. I work for the town of Penfield, and I'm under contract to teach tennis and pickleball. And so I was out there today teaching, and it was hot. I'm working at Harris Wayland a lot this summer. I teach tennis to kids, and I've been teaching tennis to kids for many, many years. I've also taught pickleball to kids. And when I ask the kids about playing pickleball, they all know about it. It's part of the school curriculum, and they're enthusiastic about it. And when I teach the kids, it's not just about the sport. It's also about developing relationships. And so I enjoy bringing the kids together. And I have a lot of fun with that. I also run a league. We had a spring league with 48 people, and the summer league with 32 people playing pickleball. And it's very popular, well received, and I'm looking forward to I have one on schedule for fall with another 48 to 64 people at Harris Wayland on their 4 courts. It'd be nice to expand something like that to a dedicated pickleball facility. I think we could do a lot with that. It's all pickleball Penfield residents, and I've been teaching a lot of pickleball. I must have taught 1,000 to 2,000 people how to play the game of pickleball. I say the same thing over and over again. I love pickleball, thank goodness, because I'm saying the same thing over and over again. But I just wanted to say that pickleball is booming. I've never seen any sport grow as fast and as much as this sport has. And I've been doing it for generations now. So I think building the pickleball facility over at Shadow Pines would be a great idea.
Thank you very much for your comments. I also want to mention that we have,
Am I done?
If you're done, it's fine. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I don't want to talk forever.
No, it's okay. Please finish. I didn't realize it.
No, I don't have any more to say.
Okay.
That's good.
Thank you so much. We do have someone on the line, so I'm just going to rotate through if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, we have Tim Murphy on hold calling in about the ARPA hearing.
Good evening, Town Board. This is Tim Murphy, 48 Corral Drive.
Hi, Tim.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Great. Yep, great. So first of all, for my comments, just a big thank you and shout out to Dick Horwitz. Congratulations and for all the contributions over 40 years. So great public servant. So thank you, Dick. And then second, Marie and Town Board, just to add something super positive. Recently, I was working on a project, a water drainage project, and I had the privilege to work with Alex and the sewer crew, and that they were unbelievably responsive and helpful. And you hear the bad stories, but you don't hear the good stories. So I thought I'd share that with you, that these guys, they showed up on time, they did what they said they were going to do, and then followed up with pictures and a report. So well done.
Tim, thank you very much. I know Eric is also nodding his head and smiling, so thanks.
Good. So I wanted to make a couple comments regarding ARPA. And just for frame of reference, I was on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board for 12 years. So I'm pretty connected with, some of the initiatives we've taken in the past. I also served as one of the principals of Save Shadow Pines, so I know what that was all about. And, recently, I've had a lot of time to think about big issues. And, when I look at the things that are facing us as a community, I think about what it's going to take to both keep people here and draw people into Penfield, the whole quality of life. And, when I look around, I see two significant issues that we need to really deal with. The first is the aging population. Witness our neighborhood. There are over 50% of the households are over 60 or older just in our neighborhood. And you look around, and we know, because there's 8 or 9 assisted living facilities in Penfield, that, the aging community is an issue that we all need to embrace. You add the availability and cost of housing, and I would say what sticks out in my mind as a clear opportunity for the town to spend some money on is not tangible things like building, a big, nice facility at Shadow Pines, but rather making an investment on planning ahead. And specifically what I'm talking about is, and you've seen this in other communities, address zoning issues so that, the traditional residential zoning categories get reviewed. And if you look at what other communities are starting to do, is they're starting to allow multiple units on one property. So I'm not going to go too far with this, but I would strongly suggest that, we invest some money in revisiting our town ordinance regarding housing, residential housing. The terms ADU, granny flats, backyard cottages, all of those things are really coming into play in many communities to help try to solve the density of housing issues or the lack of availability of housing. And it's a term I picked up on recently. It used to be NIMBY, not in my backyard. Well, now it's YIMBY, yes, in my backyard. So for me, I would vote that one place that isn't on your priority list but deserves to be is to look at zoning opportunities in our community to allow a different kind of density and a different type of solution that we've had in the past than just building, the big homes in new communities. Find a way to allow seniors to age in place, maybe in a small footprint in the backyard of their homestead, which they give to a family member, sell to someone else, they rent. There's so many different options. So that's number one. And then I have 3 other things for your consideration, just projects that, again, with this windfall, deserve to be at least considered. The first one is the floodwater management issue in Panorama Plaza. I'm not going to go into great detail, but many years ago, there were overtures about doing something about it, and I don't believe it's ever happened. And, there's businesses down there, including Thermo Fisher Scientific, where I retired from. It's a floodplain. You've got insurance rates that are driven by, the 100-year floodplain that's happened twice, at least in recent memory. So, maybe getting after that and putting that on the list. Again, that's planning. but it's, engaging maybe the Army Corps of Engineers, maybe fronting some money to do, whatever it needs to take to make sure that the stormwater that comes through that area doesn't invade the back of Panorama Plaza, Thermo Fisher, Home Depot, all the surrounding community buildings, facilities. Number two, how about maybe we consider some space at the rec center, in particular at Baird Road. I know that youth space area between the court and the recreation center where I saw kids playing there today. I can't remember the name of the courts there. There's some enclosed fields. Anyway, some indoor space, because clearly one of the missing elements for our programming is indoor space. I mean, we have 2 YMCAs in our community, probably a good reason why a community center hasn't been built yet, but there's been a clear need for many years for more indoor space, whether it be for pickleball or just youth programming or senior programming. But, and I know, Marie, you and I talked privately, but, some type of short and long-term look at facilities, specifically multi-use, specifically indoor, where the community, a wide section of the community can benefit from. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is, I know a lot of good master plans have been done over the years, and I participated in a few of them, and the one that I had my name on was the bicycle master plan, which Debbie Drawe and I worked on. It was accepted back, I think, in 2008. And using it as an example, there were clear recommendations in there, things that we could do, spend some money on to improve the infrastructure in the community, not just for cyclists, but for everyone. And the example that I wanted to reference is widening sidewalks in selected areas, in particular connecting the schools as an example, whether Bay Trail, down 5 Mile Line Road, maybe go to the high school, Whalen Road. But that was very well received, and it would be an opportunity to address safety. It would encourage the behavior. It's something that's been long-standing. So I mentioned those really 4 things, and I'm not opposed to pickleball at all. I mean, my family and friends all play, but I sent you separately a document today with an inventory of the tennis/pickleball courts that surround our community. And the numbers at least 44. There's 8 brand new ones coming online at Dinkers. I just went there today. There's 6 brand new ones coming in at Fellows Road. And what I wanted to say is be mindful of a possible saturation, especially pickleball, which is very seasonal, very weather dependent, and actually, very much attached to the baby boomer generation, which I'm part of. And I would agree that there's opportunity for expanding availability, but I would say the first step would be to have the town approach the school district and maybe line the courts at Penfield High School. Especially during the summertime, you rarely see usage there. So again, I'm not against pickleball. I know there's a loud voice for those kind of investments. I know Jim Fromm's run a great crusade to make this happen. But do we really want to spend that much money at Shadow Pines, especially central to the pickleball courts? I would contend that we could spend the money in other places. So that's my 2 cents. I hope it's valued, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak up.
Tim, thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate your feedback. I know the town board does as well. Please give my best to Susan as well.
Okay, thank you.
Take care, Tim.
Mr. Murphy, if you mind staying on the line, please. So for the benefit of everyone here, Mr. Murphy had sent a document prepared by him to the town board for review tonight, and I'm opening it up to discussion to those present. Essentially, he took an inventory of courts that he believes exist already in Penfield. Granted, it hasn't been vetted by a town employee, but just for consideration, he indicates that there are approximately 44 public and private courts available for pickleball leisure, and that other properties may be developed or better maintained to allow for pickleball activities. And so the issue that's raised is, could we perhaps devote or allocate certain of these ARPA funds to better maintain those? expand those and/or develop the new ones at Shadow Pines. And so I know that the audience doesn't have an opportunity to review this, but just to summarize that there are existing public and/or private courts available. And so it would be really helpful to hear from those present where you currently play, if any of the existing ones, why it wouldn't address all of your pickleball needs, or if there's ever a line, if it's crowded, if it's not amenable for all of those activities, for example, a tournament. It just helps to hear a breadth of different opinions so that the five of us can consider how to best steward these funds for our approximate 40,000 residents. We're already assuming that everyone here is an avid pickleball player, pickleball coach, pickleball fan, whatever, right? But it's just helpful to hear kind of why you think the funds should be allocated specifically towards this project above and beyond others.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to, I know there are hands going up.
Thank you, Councilperson Lee. I think we'll go to the clerk and have her do the next speaker, if that's okay. Thank you.
And I would just ask, as our residents were coming up to speak, I saw a few indicate that it's really hard to hear, so if you can just please speak into the microphone, because again, your back is going to be turned to the rest of the room. Thank you.
Okay, Lorenda and Jeff Goransky.
Okay, well, it's on. Can you hear me? Yes. Great. We are Jeff and Lorenda Goransky. We reside at 20 Terrace Hill Drive in the town of Penfield. I'm here kind of really more of a question and concern. I did talk to Marie earlier because we're just becoming aware of some of the master plans for the Shadow Pines property, and I'm just not, I'm uncertain as to whether those that are working on that are aware that there is an active, competitive cross-country course in the upper 9 of the property that is being used, right, for the last 3 years. And when I observed where the proposal was for the pickleball courts, it is covering about a third of that course. So we're not here to object to the pickleballs or any of that stuff, but what I would like to do is work with who is doing the engineering work. As Marie and I were talking, we maybe can move part of the course, but there's a lot of regulations and rules around the course. Our son is who created the course. This is Eagle Project, so we know the existing court very, very intimately. So we're willing to work with the engineering firm, anyone to, make some adjustments to the plan or make some adjustments to the course, and that's really why we're here.
Yeah, basically just to make sure that the people that are working on it are already coordinating with the athletics departments in the area, whether it's Penfield or in Monroe County, so that they know what's going on, and the course that they've been using is either, there's a transition plan, assuming it's going in that portion of the course.
Yeah, because even the current, I think it's under construction, we're just learning about some of this, is even the disc golf. Putting where some of the stands are going are in the middle of the course. That's not a problem, I don't think, from what we understand from the rules and regulations of the course, because it is not a barrier or a hazard that is not unseen. They're big. You can't miss them. So the runners can run around them. So, but it's those type of things that as you're going through the planning thing to make sure. And I know that they're probably, the coaches are, my guess is meeting in the month of August for the 2022 cross-country season. The course was used, I did a little looking up, and in 2019, it was used 3 out of the 6 weeks of the course. In 2020, it was used 5 out of the 5 weeks. It was the COVID year, and so they cut it short by a week, the competition, but they did use the course all 5 weeks that year. And then it was also used last year 3 of the 6 weeks, and the other 3 of the 6 weeks, Harris Whalen cross-country course was used. So we're willing to work with anyone, but I just wanted to make sure that we're not going to surprise our Monroe County Athletic Association.
Thank you very much for coming. And I know you and I spoke earlier, and I do think, because I'm out of my depth with the plan and the cross-country course, that we should put you in contact with the town engineer, Mark Valentine. And I do have your contact information, correct?
Yes, you do.
Okay, great.
Both email and phone.
I think it would be really helpful for you two to have a conversation too, so we can make sure everyone's concerns are addressed.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the time to speak.
Most welcome. Thank you.
Srini Chakravarthi? Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Amy, for pronouncing my name correctly. Mary will give you a bonus check and sign in for you.
Looking forward to it.
My name is Srinivasa Chakravarthi. I live at 28 Bramblewood Lane, Penfield. I'm here in the Penfield resident for almost 26 years. I play pickleball at Ellison Park. There are about 4 tennis courts, which is also dual marked for pickleball. And there are minimum on any weekday, we start playing at about 8 o'clock and we play till about 12:30. And after that, another batch of beginners come and play after 12 o'clock. We are not able to mix up with the beginners because of this crowd. And about 30-35 people come every day average, and we have place for 16 people to play at once, and another 16 people wait there. So the need for Shadow Pines project is really very urgent. Other day I talked to, I called the town and the person who gave me the information about, I asked about the Shadow Pines project. The person who gave me the information was that saying that they are now spending the preference, giving the preference to disc golf. And after that, disc golf, you have the Shadow Pines pickleball courts will be taken up. So I was wondering, I could not say much on the phone because I was wondering, we have a disc golf course just 1.5 miles away from the Shadow Pines area. That is in Ellison Park. We have a
Excuse me, I'm just going to, the microphones are very sensitive and they can pick that up. So if you have something that you need to say, just it's fine, just go out into the hallway. Thank you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So we
Continue.
have a disc golf course about 1.5 miles away from Shadow Pines. I don't know why that money is given preference to build a disc golf course here in Shadow Pines. One of the fastest growing games is pickleball, and I wish we focus all our resources to build those 16 courts and start playing pickleball from spring of 2023 onwards. My point is, if they can start the work by next month on pickleball courts in Shadow Pines, we will be able to play at least by April of next year. We should be able to play on those 16 courts. That's what it matters for us. Thank you very much and appreciate your opportunity to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Christy Vitale.
Hi, I'm Christy Vitale. I live at 81 Seabury Boulevard, Webster, but we pay the Penfield taxes. I'm a pickleball addict. I started playing within the past year. I've made a lot of new friends. It's made me feel 10 years younger at least. In the winter, I play at Penfield Rec, which is very hard to get time slots. Everybody calls on the dot at 9 o'clock on that Monday that you can register for the next 3 months. Well, then they cut it down to 1 month, so now we have to do it every month. And I appreciate the fact that the town has that and that it's very reasonable to play there. On a limited income, I can't play at Dinkers or their Valenti's Barn. I know Arundecoit charges a lot more. I think Greece charges more. Webster, even though I can join there, that's hundreds of dollars for me to join there to play. So and space is limited. We've been playing at Greenwood since weather got nice, but we showed up there one day and the parks program started. So that cut us off 2 days of the week that we can't play there now. So anyway, I just hope you go ahead with the project. It's a great sport. It's great for senior citizens like me. That's all I want to say.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
When you say you play at Webster, is that the Webster Rec Center?
Yes.
And when you say you pay, it's for a membership fee as a non-resident?
I don't pay for it. I can't afford to pay for it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so I pay on a drop-in basis, which is 3 times more than Penfield Rec. So when I do go to play there, I have to pay 3 times as much as I pay at Penfield
fee.
Rec.
Okay. And the other courts that you play, are those?
Well, Greenwood is free. Greenwood Park is on the corner.
I see Greenwood, and there's 2 courts there, lines for pickleball play.
2 courts, yes.
Great.
Yep. And once in a while, we play at Spry Middle School. There's 2 courts there. The problem with that, I mean, we will play there in a pinch, but it's usually pretty breezy there, and the balls blow all the way down 4 courts, all the way to the end of 4 courts. So if you don't retrieve them right away, you're running down 4 tennis court lengths to get your balls back. It's a concern for somebody like me. You know, with pickleball, you don't do a lot of running. You do a lot of reaching and lunging. And so with replaced knees, I can still do that. But yeah, it's nice to have a place like the gymnasium. It bounces off the walls and comes back to you sometimes, which is a bonus.
Thank you very much.
Jay Coughlin.
AKA Pickleball Wizard, I see.
You got it. Hi, my name is Jay Coughlin. I live at 2 Farmingham Drive in Penfield. I've been a resident of this town for over 47 years, and with that, I've carried a lot of weight in this town, and if it wasn't for pickle, I'd be carrying a lot more weight. I just want to say that pickleball is a phenomenal get-together with people. You get away from politics. You really get the best of the people. But I have to go back to one issue that we were talking about, the 44 courts that are around the area. I play all over. I'm in a group in Fishers, which I joined last year, and I think I was about 140th to join the group. I just looked at my thing, and there's 448 people in this group now in Fishers. And the popularity is just going to continue growing. The more people who play it, they always bring somebody else. The courts that, like Ellison, that we play at, the problem there is it is really tennis for some of these, but it's the parking. When you play pickle, you have 4 on a court. You multiply that by the courts, the parking down there is absolutely terrible. Sometimes you have to, if you ever driven back into there, it's a walk. It's not that bad. But a lot of people still have to park out by the road on Blossom because there isn't enough parking. And it really isn't. They're parking on the grass and all that. So, and then Dinkers, you're paying for it. The fellows he was talking about is in the town of Perrington. and they have a population. So some of these courts that he had mentioned is more of an area-wide, but then you're also including those towns of all those residents. So I really think that Penfield needs to address the growing population in the growing pickleball players in Penfield. So I really think that the town would be forefront in doing something like this.
Thank you very much. Before we call up another person, we do have another person on hold, so I just want to keep rotating through. And we have Bob Peterson on hold. Okay, Bob, you're on air.
Oh, hi. Yes, thank you. And Marie, my question is, it's my understanding that there's a public-private joint venture proposal to build out the pickleball courts. I think it's backed by Jim Froome. Can you please describe the financial and contractual details of this joint plan, if it indeed exists, and tell us something about the expenditures from both parties? Thank you.
Bob, can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry, I missed the first part of it.
Yeah, the first part is, my belief is there's a public-private joint venture proposal to build the pickleball courts. And could you tell us about that? What is the town's financial commitment and the private? I think it's Jim Froome behind the private side. What are the financial and contractual arrangements of this plan?
I just want to be clear that there is no financial contract in place. What there was a discussion, and it's only in draft form, that if the Pickleball Association wanted to contribute to upkeep or maintenance, they could do that. But this is not signed, not anything other than a draft and being reviewed by the attorney.
So I guess at this point, the only commitment of funds is to build the pickleball courts is coming from the taxpayer side?
It's coming from the ARPA monies, if this were to move forward.
Yes, the ARPA money comes from the taxpayers.
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next.
Mary Ellen Gentile.
I'm Mary Ellen. I've been living in Penfield almost 22 years now with my husband at 17 Terrace Hill Drive. Yeah, I'm a pickleball player, an addict. But now my concern is there's two things. One, I want to talk about the streetlights after. But with the pickleball, from November to the middle of April, you can't play outside. You can bundle up and go out and then shovel the snow off the court. I personally don't think we need 16 courts at Shadow Pines. I think 12 courts for sure. But I was thinking there are still tennis players in our community that perhaps 4 courts could be just for tennis with no pickleball markings, and then the rest would be all pickleball. That would give other people that want to play tennis a better chance for them just to have a tennis court, because there's one at Shadow Lake and the other one has pickleball markings on it. Some of the tennis courts most of them now have pickleball markings on it. So for the tennis community, I would think, why couldn't we do 12 pickleball for tennis? I think it would be fair. Another thing is, if we had more money, we could cover 4 of those pickleball courts with a dome and put a heater in there, and then people would be able to play in the winter, because Dinkers only has 4 courts. It's a great facility, but there's only 4 indoor courts. When I was at the Penfield Community Center playing, the heat was about 80 in there, They couldn't control it. And there's only one court over there. So I decided I'd try out Parenton. And for those of you that don't know, if you have MVP and you have silver sneakers with them, there's no charge to play at Parenton, even if you don't live in Parenton. But they have 4 courts in the gym. They're tennis and pickleball, and it's fine. They are air-conditioned all year, but the lines, they're not good because it's tennis and pickleball, and it's just not a great place to go, you know? And so that's what I want to say. There's other maybe sports that could be going on at Shadow Pines too. You know, like a little cross-country ski area, maybe a child's playground. You know, it doesn't have to be all about senior citizens, even though I am one. I've got grandkids, and I like to bring them to the various playgrounds. So that's our feeling. The other thing is with the streetlights, where are you going to put streetlights in Penfield?
Well, actually, and I don't want to get too much into a back and forth because I know this is just to receive public comment. But a quick answer to your question is that we would be replacing the existing structures with the updated LED fixtures.
So how about some more streetlights on 5 Mile Line Road and these dark, these dark side roads? I know the town of Greece, there's streetlights everywhere. Residential neighborhoods, they have sidewalks. We don't have sidewalks. We don't have any streetlights. And I know it would cost more to the taxpayers, us, if we wanted them for our street. But I would like to see a few more on dark roads, because when you're driving at night, you know, you got to put your brights on, and it's hard. I mean, could the town afford to put a few more streetlights on some of those side roads?
Well, we'll definitely look into that. Definitely take your feedback.
Okay, because 5 Mile Line, there's only a streetlight at every street. You know, you go, oh, there's a light, there's a street there. But gee, it's very dark, and as are the other roads in Penfield. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very much.
Mark Polinsky.
Good evening.
My name is Mark Polinsky. I live at 60 Chippenham Drive. I came to this meeting because my pickleball friend said we need to support this, and pickleball, we would like to have it. And so I've heard the comments, especially the gentleman that called in. And I think it's important, what I don't think we've shared with you effectively today is that pickleball is not about the number of courts. It's about playing with other people. So when they said there was 16 people or 32 people, you have 4 people playing, 4 people waiting, and it's the community. It's the camaraderie is what makes it popular. That I can play with somebody, have fun, and then meet new friends. And so when he said that we need to do something for the elderly community and to keep people in Penfield, there's nothing better than putting in a 16-court pickleball facility. And I do think that we need to consider that we live in Western New York. And in one of the videos, there was a place in Georgia that was set up that had some overhang, that if we had that, I mean, we've had people that are shoveling pickleball courts in the middle of winter, playing with their coats to play. And it's because of the community. So we don't need to stop in the winter like we all hate to do, right? And we could make it year-round, but it would take a vision for that property. That Shadow Pines property is a diamond in the rough. And if pickleball ended up being the feeder, right, that people always knew they could go, they could always do something there. You could have a stand running full-time all the time, right, like the one you have at the baseball field, right? And you could have all kinds of things that could feed off of that. And so I think that's the big difference between pickleball and tennis, right? You have your 2 people that you go and you play, and that's kind of it, and you go and play. Pickleball isn't like that. You're like, are you going? Yeah, we'll meet there at 8 o'clock. If you follow the app, I mean, there's people back and forth on that all the time showing up, and it's about showing up and putting your paddle in line, and you get to play with different people every time. And so it's not about the number of courts. It's about setting up an environment that people can come to and be a community and share and make friends. And I think it would be a wonderful ground, a foundation for that property to develop all kinds of other things that could become a part of that. So I think that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
The last one I have is Sue Quackenbush.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sue Quackenbush, and I live at 5 Rockbridge Lane in Penfield. And I've been playing pickleball for about 12 years, and unlike some of the people here, I'm never going to get very good because I'm not very competitive. I just play to have fun. During that entire time, I have rarely played in Penfield because there's nowhere to play. So the 44 courts that were mentioned by the gentleman on the phone, I'm hoping that we could have some time in the upcoming weeks to review that list and respond to it, because I can't be the only one who's going everywhere to find pickleball courts. I've played in Greece, I've played in Charlotte, I've played in Parrington, I've played all kinds of places, but there's almost nowhere to play in Penfield. And the few courts we have are totally full. And I won't play if I have to wait in line for an hour to get in a game, and then wait another hour to maybe get in a game. So other towns have invested in pickleball, and it's very frustrating to be a Penfield resident, paying very high taxes, and having nowhere to play here. Nearby courts are often full. I'd like to mention that pickleball has been taught in the schools for decades, as another gentleman mentioned earlier. And so many young people up through about age 35 know how to play pickleball. And we travel a lot, and everywhere I go, all over the country and in Monroe County, there are young people and families playing pickleball. It is certainly not just seniors. During COVID, which appears to be in our lives for the certainly near future, if not longer than that, people came out of the woodwork asking to be taught how to play. And I'm not a pickleball teacher, but I taught a lot of people. I would say I've taught probably over 40 people. And the reason they asked is because it's a safe, healthy, fun, and social activity to do outside. I've played pickleball indoors, and I love to play pickleball indoors, but I am not going back to indoor play until COVID is locked down, which it certainly is not. So I also wanted to add that I really appreciate that the town invested in the property at Shadow Pines, and the voters showed that we know it was a great investment for the town and for our property values too. And I believe that pickleball courts will also be a good investment for our property values and a wonderful asset for the community. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Hi. Thank you. I have a couple questions as follow-up. Ma'am, I have a few questions for follow-up. Yes, if you're inclined, of course, you don't have to answer any of them. So I'm just trying to understand, and the gentleman that had indicated as to the available public and private courts, Mr. Murphy, I think it's just to help for a more robust discussion, not that he, right, these are things that we're considering as a whole. So you indicated that there are no available courts to you in Penfield?
Correct.
Are there courts at Harris Whalen Park that are lined for pickleball?
When I went there multiple times, they were not lined.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if they've been lined since then.
They are
but
lined.
I've moved on to other places.
Okay. Okay. And I think others had mentioned playing at Greenwood Park in Penfield.
I don't know where that is.
Okay. Only 2 courts at Greenwood. 2 courts, and those are lined for pickleball? Okay.
Both.
For both, okay. Okay, and so I understand that you're a very strong proponent for it. You heard other comments as part of the hearing that there are other athletics that may utilize the Shadow Pines and at least the master plan that we are considering for that, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry? Oh.
Did you ask me a question?
I was distracted for a second. So I heard another comment that if not 16 courts, that 12 would be playable. Would you agree with that?
I'm not positive what the need is. I mean, I think if you had 16 courts, they would be full a lot of the time. And it's very important to understand that they're all different levels of pickleball players.
Oh, sure.
So the people who are really good, many of them, and I'm not one of those people, but many of them are so good, they don't necessarily on a regular basis want to play with beginners, and beginners would be very uncomfortable playing with them, and then there are all different levels in between. So by having that many courts, you could create a schedule that has beginners ideally on these couple of courts, intermediates
sure.
on this court and these courts, so that everybody would be able to play almost all the time. And you'd probably have some organized leagues. You'd have lessons for people who want to learn or want to improve their skills, have workshops, and you would always need to have open play so people could just show up, because that is very appealing to a lot of people, and that's how you get new people playing, is with open play.
Sure, okay. So I'm trying to understand if the existing plan covers other courses where we heard active competitions, right? Trying to, on balance, review the plan so that it can, of course, optimize and maximize the leisure and play for all residents, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, they should say.
Okay, so what we're going to, when everyone else has spoken first, and then you can absolutely speak again, okay? We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. So I'll start with Jim Froome over here, and we'll work this way.
Jim Froome, Denonville Ridge, 40-year Penfield taxpayer and a senior citizen. I'm going to start first with Tim's call-in because it's filled with good ideas and some inaccurate things. First off is, let's see where we go. On all that court inventory he gave you, there's not one dedicated pickleball court in Penfield. Okay. I play with a lot of senior citizens and younger people, and we get a lot of bad line calls because sometimes there's lines 12 inches apart. Harris Whalen that did redo the courts last year, and they double lined them. I've been up there maybe a dozen times playing, and there are more people playing tennis than there used to be, but when I say more, that's maybe like 2 courts. I don't know, Mark could tell you about the leagues if they use up all the courts. I know he's using more with the pickleball courts. The 2 issues with something like that is, A, they're not real pickleball courts, but B, that's windswept. We're playing with a pickleball, and if there's any kind of wind, you know, it's very tough to play, and the better players won't play in the wind. And then The Dinkers is 4 new courts, not 8. Okay. They do have 4 indoor courts, and like he said, that's a private facility. I'm trying to think what else he said. And just in general with, I don't know if there's 44 courts, okay? I do know there's a lot of courts, and there's some courts we don't know about. But I can tell you just in the since September, Victor switched over 2 tennis courts into 4 dedicated courts. They're small, they're minimum size. And then what they did was they expanded the courts, I don't know, 16 feet or 12 feet. And then what they did is they moved the tennis court, and then they lined on both sides, put a pickleball court on both sides. Excuse me, 2 pickleball courts. So if there's nobody playing tennis, you have 8 pickleball courts. And if somebody's playing tennis, like the couple times I've been there this year, in the afternoons, there's 4 courts of pickleball with 16 people and another 5 or 10 people waiting, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 people playing tennis. And that's just, somebody just spoke to pickleball is more of a social sport. It's a competitive sport. We have, I believe, a 14-year-old female that's the #1 female player in the nation. Earlier, somebody said something about, I think, Marie, you might have said something about the seniors have been we don't have enough recreation for them, and that is true. But I just want to I want to emphasize, this is not just for us seniors. Yeah. Okay, there will be afternoons and after school. There's more and more kids getting into the sport. It's a good way for we had a filming last year with 50 people down in Canada with their air courts, and we had 12-year-olds playing 9-year-olds. And we had 4 generations playing on 1 court. So it's a multi-generational deal. And I don't know what else, I was on that email with Tim, and there's probably more things, but that is just, it's not kind of a true estimation of what we have. And in terms of the 8 courts at Penfield High School, okay, I approached them 2-3 months ago. And I asked them if we could maybe in August have a tournament there for fundraising for pickleball. And I didn't talk to the administration, I talked to the coach, and it was a definitive no. And they did redo all 8 courts, not 4. They resurfaced 8 of them, and they lined 2 of them, and again, that's windswept there. And the 2 problems you would have there, and it might even be a problem if we did a weekend tournament, is there's houses right behind the courts. And noise is a problem nationwide, okay? Victor, they got so many new people coming to play there. There was a petition, I believe, with 25 signatures. They had a couple town meetings, and they've restricted usage of those courts now. There's just certain mornings they can play and certain afternoons. There's time limits on it. And just going back to the Fellows, we expect when Fellows opens up, there'll be 6 courts there. They're about 2-3 weeks late opening, so it'll be any day, week. Those will fill right up. Victor filled up. I think he told you there was 130 people on their list. Now there's 400 some. Ellison Park is the same way. Ellison Park has had to, with some of the new people coming in, Ellison Park now, when you sign up to play in the morning, there's another group that signs up at 11 and you get a mixture. So the newer players kind of come later in the morning, and instead of
57 in 2 months.
So those are going on, and then just with Pittsford opened up, I believe, 4 courts, and they had the same question: what do we do with the tennis, the pickleball? And in my opinion, they could have put 6 or 12 courts there, because 100 yards away they have 8 or 10 tennis courts, and the high schools do not want pickleball lines because they can't have high school tournaments there. Okay, you cannot have multiple lines for a tournament. That's why they don't want. But Penfield, when I talked to them earlier in the year, they have no problem with us coming using the courts. If a gym class needs a court, you got to get off. But if you drive by there, there's never, other than when the tennis team is on there, last summer and this summer, there's never more than 2 or 3 courts being used. We have an abundance of tennis courts. Okay, as to Greenwood, those courts need to be redone, because nobody I won't say nobody, but when you play there, you're going to get a lot of bad bounces. There's some delamination going on in there, and when the ball hits those areas, it tends to not bounce up. And again, with 2 courts, you need to take 4 people there to play because there's just not a time when you're going to get 10 or 15 people there and you can go. And so I'm just going to stop on those, but if you want more information, I can probably give you a lot of it. Back in March, at one of your work sessions, you said, let's put a list together on ideas and a project that benefits the entire community and covers all geographical areas. And I think you've heard enough that pickleball does that. It's the fastest growing sport in America, and just in the last year and a half, I think it was about a year ago, CNBC did a program on the growth, and they talked about some huge number. And NBC or CBS just did another pickleball morning program, and I don't remember if it was 1 year or 2 year, but they said there's another 35% growth in pickleball. Multiple decades of town master plans here have talked about the need. Some of you have been on a lot of those planning commissions. I see some yeses there. So it's you know, we hit all the boxes because we do need more recreational for seniors. And 4 courts is a joke. 12 to 16 courts opens up a whole new avenue. I guarantee, I can't guarantee, but I would be willing to bet a lot of money that once those courts open, there'll be 50 to 100 people 7 days a week playing in the mornings, afternoons. I'm not sure how many, but you know, a proportion of that. There'll be more young people. There'll be after school kids. There'll be, you know, once you get 16 courts, with the problems like at Ellison right now, there's a little drama going on because as the later morning people have come in, sometimes people are saying, well, you can't play on this court. You're new. You got to go over here. And there's no rules. They're public courts, right? All across the nation, there's issues with lesser players wanting to play with better players. And with 16 courts and proper designing of programs, and Mark can tell you a lot about this, you can have any time during the morning drop-in programs, which is usually 2.5, 3 to 4 hours. You will have, with 16 courts, you'll have enough courts for everybody to come and find a game. People will sit and wait, but they won't be waiting 15, 20, 30 minutes between games. And hopefully you'll be able to design programs where for a certain pick you play in your lane, but then there's other times when a person like myself can go play with some of the better players for a little beatdown or a little improvement. And again, I've told you guys this every time I've seen you, the 5 to 18-year-old population in Penfield is 5% less than the 55 plus. And you guys just put in 2 new 1-acre soccer fields that you're putting in now. And you're doing some softball work and putting in a 3rd bathroom at Veteran Park. This is not a big ask for the Penfield community, pickleball community. You've taken the complex from 12 to 16. I believe, I haven't measured it, but it's still under an acre. It's under 1 soccer field. And I did get an email last night about the soccer course. And I think if you look at that, I don't think it's an issue at all, because I think with the paths you have on the engineering drawings right now, maybe they get noodled around a little bit. But I believe if you look, there's only one little section, which is probably 150 feet long, where the cross-country course would be going through the pickleball courts. And you have 200 feet to the east, and you have acres to the west of that can be rerouted around. So I don't think that's a terrible issue. The location is next to perfect. It's one of 208 acres. It's in the northeast corner with a quarry that sets off bombs. To the south is hundreds and hundreds of yards of nothing, and then another 100 acres of shadow pines. To the east, there's a huge buffer until you get to Horwitz Circle, and to the north, there's trees, there's Atlantic Avenue, and there's trucks. It's just noise is not going to be an issue. And there's not another location that we've thought of in Penfield that we could say that to. Somebody's already said it's social, it's healthy, good exercise, play for fun or competitive, 10 to 90-year-olds. And then the last thing I'll go, because I could sit up here and talk all night. But I looked up a couple of the places, one of it I've talked to you about before, but, and I don't know what the document was, but this came from a township document or a county document, and it's called, it's Georgia, Spalding County in Georgia. And I don't know the name of the town, but I think I've shown you the pictures. It's a layout with 15 courts, and 4 of them are under a weather cap, if you will. And this is directly from their economic development people. Pickleball has proven to be a game changer in sports tourism for Georgia Spalding County, as indicated by the Georgia Department of Economic Development, page this, blah, blah, blah. This report was indeed prophetic. Our achievements are outlined before. We opened our doors in June 2017. We had our first tournament while still under construction. From that time, we have exceeded expectations in all previous experiences in just about every tournament we hosted or operated. And I just want to, I don't believe they've held any national tournaments. These are just local and regional. I'm not 100% sure that's right, but that's what I think. Many times we have shattered previous participation numbers, generated real sports tourism, thousands of players and visitors from multiple states, and genuine local economic impact in the millions. From June 17th to October 21st, our tournaments brought in 6,000 players and generated $4 million of economic impact for their county. And this group, they operate with the township and the courts, and then they have a club that works with them for the scheduling and management. Spalding County Pickleball Complex and the County Pickleball Association are making a difference. We're improving the quality of life in our community, health and well-being, exercise, fitness, sports tourism, and economic impact. The pickleball complex was a wise investment by the citizens of Spalding County, and they are realizing a great return on investment. We've drawn thousands of other players and visitors to our pickleball facility with scheduled open play, learn to play, and round robins. In addition, the Pickleball Association is giving back to the community with annual charitable contributions and multiple worthy organizations. And then it goes on a little bit, blah, blah, blah. And then the last one is, I don't know how to say the name, but Opelika, Alabama, which is a sister city to Auburn. Okay, when I came to you guys the first time, they had just finished putting in 12 courts with a cover. And their cost on the courts was less than what we initially thought they would be up here. And they did the 12 courts and the overhang in the $650,000 range, of which the township did some grading and things like that. So it was very economical the way they did it. I talked to them back in February, the Parks Department, and they were adding 12 more courts, which opened in June. And I said, do you have 100 people showing up for your 12 courts can be 48 people. I said, you have 100 people showing up? And he said, no, we have about 60 or 70 or 50 for drop-in. I said, why are you building 12 more courts? And he said, because with 24 courts, we'll fill them up. We may not have as long waiting lines, but he said, we will up our revenue to the town by 300% to 400%. Just because, people drop out in the first rounds, they get beat. And so with more courts, they can just bring in more people. And they have if you go to a lot of the tournaments, there's national sign-in web pages, and you can look and see, but many tournaments get sold out. So in terms of economic development, this is a win for Penfield. It's a very wise usage of the ARPA funds. It will be very healthy for the citizens, and it'll be, I think what we'll find, it'll put Penfield on the map a little bit. Sure, there'll be people from other communities coming to play here, but I think what you're going to find is, even when the courts opened up, Fellows Road, Victor, any other new courts, Pittsford, those courts are going to be filled also, but they're going to be different than a place with 16 courts. 16 is going to be the epic center for pickleball.
Mr. Froome. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. Come on.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Spitz. I live at 10 Crimson Way in Penfield. Been there 9 years now.
You're going to have to speak right up into the...
Wayne Spitz, 10 Crimson Way, Penfield, New York. Been living there 9 years now, and I got started right about that time. And I was just going to try to cover a couple of things that I don't think were hit yet. But for example, he was mentioning about the...
May I ask, could you just move the microphone a little bit closer to you? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, there you go. I didn't know you could do that.
Thank you very much.
The use of the public facilities like the schools is not a reliable thing because the schools are in session until almost the end of June. And I tried to use a couple of schools at times. I checked out, and they said they really don't want you on the campuses during school time. So that's really not a realistic opportunity to use the school properties. The other thing, the nice thing about the Penfield project that you have is it's going to also include handicap opportunities. This happens to be Pride Handicap Month, and that would be a nice thing if you could do it in Pride Handicap Month and bring that home for the handicap community as well. Another thing, by having more people in that park using that facility, it's going to make other people that just want to come and walk and so forth and other activities feel more comfortable. It's just the way it is when there's more people around. Even just going to the restrooms, there'll be more people using that, and so they'll feel more comfortable in the park as well. And I think the final thing I had was I was in Florida playing some pickleball, and I was listening to a conversation. This woman was looking for a house to buy, and she said, it's got to be near pickleball courts. I'm not going to buy it. That's how crazy people are for pickleball. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Mr. Spitz? Mr. Spitz? So you had sent me an email. Would you not want me to?
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Yes, go ahead. It doesn't matter which one, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And just your name and address.
Jane Grace Taylor. I live in Webster, New York. I come to Penfield every day to play pickleball. I'm borderline diabetic, so it keeps me from having to take any insulin because I get steady exercise every day. So that's what started me doing this. But I wanted to add to what Jim said about the beginners. I started a beginners group because I noticed that people needed an on-ramp. It was really hard to just go out there and enter a group that was already playing up to speed. So I started it 2 months ago, 2 members, and it's up to 57 already. So now there are 57 beginners, and they're interested in coming into this park where there are already 30 people a day showing up. I'm keeping track of the numbers because because I'm there every day, I keep track of all the balls and everything. So, if you do the math, there's no way that they're all going to fit on 4 courts. There's just, they have to spread out throughout the day, and a lot of people can't because they have schedules and so on that they're working around. So I guess really what I'm trying to say is also the group itself started out last year, we had about 90, and it's doubled just in the last few months. And that's just Ellison. That's not counting the beginners that just, that's another 57 that just added on. And then the Fisher group, I was going there sometimes when I couldn't get into a game or something because it's so necessary to my health. So they have gone from like 200 to 400 something, 457, something like that. And then they restricted their entry to the courts, and those people kind of scattered, and they're going all over the place trying to get to play. The thing about Penfield that's so nice is that it's centrally located. I think it would become a magnet for all these people that are looking for a place to play. And Unlike me, probably a lot of people don't rely on it so much. But for me, it's my life's breath. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Would the gentleman with the glasses, third row in? Yes.
I didn't plan to speak, so I don't know how it's going to go.
Well, we'll start with your name and address and into the microphone.
Chuck Lamb, 39 years taxpayer, Penfield, 23 Edenfield Road.
23 Penfield?
Edenfield.
Edenfield.
The one thing we haven't talked about, one of the biggest crises we have in the United States today is mental health. And that's one thing that pickleball really helps with. We talk about socialization. It doesn't make any difference how old or how young or what level you are. You can play pickleball all together. And I was over at Harris Hill. It was exciting to be on a court in Penfield that was actually had lines for pickleball. But unfortunately, on the way out, my wife showed me a sign. I play in the morning. The sign said it was leagues and other things. You have requirements on it. I want a place where I can go and play pickleball without having any time requirements. I want open play. I don't want to be restricted. And I don't want to have to go to another town like I'm doing now. We go to Perrington in the winter. That's gotten to the point where it's just overloaded with people. You have to wait. And as someone else mentioned, there's lines for basketball, there's lines for tennis, there's lines for pickleball. It's very difficult to play there. I know my wife in the winter goes up to Webster Park. I've gone, right now we play primarily at Perrington. There's no reason for a Penfield resident to go some other town to play pickleball. I'd like to know how many people play tennis now versus pickleball, because we have a lot of tennis courts in Penfield. Any idea? I belong to a group at Potter's Park in Perrington, has 178 people. Fellows Road, it was 57. Webster Park, 69. There are many, many people that want to play pickleball. A lot of people don't because we can't get courts. I sure hope we go through with this at Penfield. And I don't know if 16 is enough.
For the gentleman in the t-shirt, gray t-shirt.
Hi, John. I'm John Gardner. I live at 900 Embury Road, and I've lived there for 60 years. I've been playing pickleball for about 20 years. One thing that's been touched upon, I'm within walking distance of Greenwood Park, but I almost never play there. I drive to Greece because they have 6 courts and there's always somebody there in the morning and you can just drop in. You can schedule things, but that's not me. I lived a whole working life of scheduling things. Now I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So I get up in the morning and say, yeah, today I'd like to play pickleball. Well, I don't know if I can play locally. Certainly I don't know if there'll be anybody at Greenwood Park because there are only 2 courts. And even if there are 4 people there, I wouldn't drop in on them because they're just a group of 4. COVID had a lot to do with that. Nobody wanted to just drop in with people they didn't know because they were concerned about COVID. I did stop at Greenwood once and I made the mistake of reaching down and picking up a stray ball to throw it back to the players. And they said, oh, no, just kick it back to us. They didn't want anybody touching the ball. Anyways, there's a a critical mass, I think, that you have to have if you're going to have a significant pickleball activity. You have to have enough courts so that there'll be enough people there that you can just drop in and be pretty sure that there's going to be somebody there that you can play with. That's true at Greece. It's true at Ontario Beach Park, certainly at Fisher's now. I've not been to some of the other places, although I was typically playing 4 or 5 days a week somewhere. But the places that I would go would be places that I knew there were going to be a lot of people there already. So the fact that there might be, I think the number was tossed around, 44 courts. If there are 2 here and 2 there and 3 here and 4 there, that's just not the same as having a large number of courts in one place where you can be pretty sure that if you go there, you'll meet new people and there'll be somebody to play with. So I'm hoping that the process continues and the building starts soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person?
Yeah, I had just one other comment.
Sorry.
I've been managing a pickleball list. I call it the Greater Rochester Pickleball Roster. I started in 2010 with 26 people, basically only from Ockenden because that were the only indoor courts in the area. As of a week ago, it's at 1,002. And I would guess that perhaps only half the people who are pickleball players here in the room are on that list, because everybody has gotten together in small groups. And if there was one larger place to play, I think you'd find that a lot of those people who aren't on the 1,000 that I know about would also join that activity. So, thank you.
Sir, I don't want anybody throwing tomatoes at me, but I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
So if there are quartets, I think several persons had mentioned that there are wait times when you get to a court, or you might not be able to play, or there are wait lists for certain centers and courts in order to play. On average, can you describe how long those wait time might be?
Oh, it depends. I played at Parrington Indoors. You would typically have to wait maybe 10 or 15 minutes sometimes. You have to wait at Ellison Park because there's a lot more people there than there are courts to handle.
And in considering the use of the ARPA funds, what in your mind would be helpful for persons waiting on the court if they're not able to actively play, aside from like benches and things like this? What would optimize your experience?
Well, certainly places to sit, and in the summertime, some shade to sit in.
Right. Okay. And go ahead.
It is. You're sitting, you're waiting, but you're not just sitting there with your arms folded waiting. You're talking to the person next to you or somebody else about what experiences they had in Florida when they were playing down there. So there's a social activity that goes on when you're not on the court.
And if a portion of the ARPA funds were allocated, for example, not committing, but for example, to repair the Greenwood courts, I think somebody else had also mentioned uneven footing there. Would you consider playing there?
As I have played there, it just, because there are only 2 courts, it's not going to be a center of activity because you can't know, first of all, if there's going to be anybody there.
Okay.
And if there's a lot of people there, then it's probably a crowd of people that all know each other.
Thank you.
Okay.
The man in the blue shirt.
Hello, I'm Scott Pugilis, 30-year Penfield resident. I live at 18 San Filippo Circle. My wife and I play pickleball. We are so excited about this potential project that this is the first meeting in Penfield we've ever come to.
Welcome.
So we are wholeheartedly in favor of this, and I think it would, we traveled to Sonnenberg, Canandaigua to play in dedicated courts, to Charlotte to play on dedicated courts, to Greece to play on dedicated courts. And, tennis courts that are lined for pickleball are better than nothing, but the net height is different than what pickleball is regulated for. You're chasing balls a lot further than you would otherwise. The lines are somewhat confusing. So it's far from ideal. It's not real pickleball. It is a lot better than nothing, but, So we're very in favor. We're very excited about this. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I think so much of the community would benefit from this, not just us seniors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Purple, the gentleman in the purple shirt with the pink drawing,
My big break. That's what I'm waiting for. Big shot here.
Here's your 15 minutes.
So nervous. I'm Paul Valenti. I live on Atlantic Avenue since 2015. And I think the biggest thing, Scott just touched on it. I thought he did a great job, but the 44 courts that was mentioned, I don't know of one public pickleball specific court in Penfield. And I feel personally that, and I'm sure people would agree, that putting pickleball lines on a tennis court is just like a Band-Aid. They're just trying to appease people to say that we have pickleball. The net is an issue, chasing balls is an issue, and the more that you have to chase balls, safety is an issue of balls rolling onto other courts. All around the country, everyone says pickleball is the fastest growing sport. Yes, all around the country, communities are putting in 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 courts. And it's not going anywhere. Nobody in our lifetime, maybe John Gardner, has seen a sport grow like this. It's not going away because you can become very proficient at pickleball very quickly. If you try to play tennis and you didn't grow up playing tennis is a really tough sport to play. And also it is very hard to learn. And two people on a tennis court to try to hit it back and forth, it's not enjoyable. Talk about chasing balls. You're not getting really a rally. Also, you're a number of feet away from each other. In pickleball, you're 14 to 20 feet away from each other, so the social aspect for people on the court. I'm so happy that we talked about mental health. I'm a high school teacher, and we see kids struggle a lot with mental health, and exercise is a huge benefit of mental health, but also the social aspect. I am not a senior, but I've met a ton of seniors. I play with seniors. I've created great friendships. I taught Scott Pugilis, his daughter, in high school, and I've met him through pickleball. And you just meet people, and I think mentoring is so important. What I can learn from, seniors. Luckily I have my father, I have my grandparents around, but kids don't have that, and they have an ability to learn from other people. And then also, as it is being taught in schools for high school, middle school kids, they're going to know how to play pickleball, and they're going to want to play pickleball because you can be proficient at it pretty quickly. The other thing I was going to say is that a park is supposed to be used, and I can't think of anything else that you're going to put in this park that's going to get used more than this. If you can think of something, tell me. But the courts are going to be used. They're going to be used multiple times a day. because you have people that work, don't work. And that's the point of a park. And people are going to come into Penfield. They're going to buy their gas here. They're going to go to diners. They're going to spend money. And I just feel like if people putting in, like Thornell Farm Park doing 4 courts, or the 8 courts here or there, it's just very small thinking. Lining tennis courts is very archaic. And I feel like if Penfield doesn't do it, somebody else is going to do it. They're definitely going to do it. So that's all I have, I think, from my list here.
Thank you very much. I do just want to make one comment that Shadow Pines is not technically a park, it's municipal land.
Got it.
Just
It's
for the
gonna
record.
be used. It's going to be used.
But it should be used.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I think there's a...
Questions? Come on. I'm ready. I'm ready. Come on, Candace.
Not this time, thank you.
I'd like to have the lady in the back.
I'm short. Can you hear me okay? Good enough? Okay. So my name's Deborah Sanil. I'm actually not from Penfield. I'm from Rochester. And I wanted to first answer a question that Candace asked, which had to do with wait times.
Could you also just give your address as well?
Yeah, it's 71 Bellevue Drive, Rochester, New York, 14620.
Thank you, and I'm very sorry to interrupt you.
And I'm sorry to interrupt as well, but Deb, could you spell your last name?
Yeah, that's a long one. ROSSEN-KNILL.
Thank you.
See, folks, this is why we sign up, right?
Yep, no, absolutely. So 2 thoughts about wait times. One is, in some places, and I believe Parrington was like this, it's not just wait times, but they actually have a sign-up list. So if you actually don't get in on time, you can't play at all. So I've driven out to Parrington, and I wasn't, one of the first 30 who actually signed up, so you just can't play. So that's one issue. The other is wait times. So I'm over 60, and I have pretty good joints, except some are replaced, one is replaced. So wait times are not always good things for people who want to exercise, because you stop, you sit down for 15 minutes, and it's not always very easy to get back up. And I think this is truer as people get older, and there's something about continuing to move that helps health, both physical and mental. But the main point I want to make is I'm also an educator. I work a lot with college students, and I am watching in society a very sad, increasing divide among generations, among political positions that people hold, and it's driving people apart. And I've never seen a sport. I'm a tennis player. My kids were soccer, bowling, you name it, golf. I have never, ever seen a sport that brings people together across generations, across political perspectives, across all kinds of likes and dislikes, across economic positions. And that's huge because, as a tennis player growing up, it became very clear that some people could play it and some people could not. Even things like golf, you see that. You see that with bowling. Believe it or not, bowling balls are expensive. And pickleball is cheap. And if you make open, accessible courts, you bring people together in a community that is almost unseen nowadays. And I just want to hold that up because I think that's the future of our world.
Thank you very much. Folks, is there anyone else who would like to speak?
I had just another point to add. You want me to come here?
Please. And just for your name and address for the record again.
My name is Srinivasa Chakravarti. I live at 28 Bramblewood Lane, Penfield. Another point I wanted to add about the Ellison Park is there will be about 32 to 35 people, and we have officially parking for about 8 cars. So it's a big struggle to park the cars on the grass. And, sometimes we have to park right on the Blossom Road. There is a spot there to park the car near Ellison tennis courts, then walk through. So with all the emphasis done on this pickleball about the shadow pines, I hope the work starts next month and at least we'll be able to play in the month of April next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, last call. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention.
You're going to have to come right back up, I'm sorry. With the microphones can't hear you.
Do you want my name? Okay, Jane Grace Taylor, 624 Gravel Road, Webster, New York. This fine lady over here asked if there was something else that we would need, and I was thinking if you made some kind of drinks that people could buy, you'd probably make a fortune. Yeah, okay, that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much. I believe one last comment from the gentleman. It's Mr. Lamb.
Not really a comment, it's a question. Hope I can ask it. Those here.
Could you have your name and address, please?
Chuck Lamb, 23 Enfield Road. So those here, I guess you're all on the board. By show of raise of hands, how many people play pickleball on a regular basis? That's it. Thanks.
I don't know if that is,
Well, ma'am, all night you've been asking questions. It seems like to me that you're totally against this thing.
No, not at all.
Well, it sure seems that way. So, no other questions. Thank you.
Okay. I do want to keep going forward with, I believe there are some comments that came in on email that need to be read into the record. Is there any other questions in the audience or any comments? Thank you. Okay.
Okay, the first one I received was Mindy McLaren, 1651 5 Mile Line Road. As a member of the Friends of Shadow Pines regarding the proposed infrastructure improvements at the Shadow Pines property, I would like to suggest the following. Green building practices, any structures, even bathrooms, should utilize green construction and have energy-saving features such as lighting, bathroom, plumbing. Solar should be installed where feasible. Parking lots should be crusher-run gravel to facilitate absorption of water rather than the runoff that occurs with solid surfaces like asphalt, unless there's some new surface material that's solid but permeable. To mitigate the exhaust fumes from the diesel trucks that travel Wayland Road, a large number of trees should be planted along the west side of Wayland Road on the Shadow Pines property. And then lastly, areas that were former pollinator meadows but were mowed down last year should be restored.
Thank you.
I have one from Donna Spinella and Jeff Burns. So let's see, pickleball courts, let's start with the modest number and see how it goes before building the 16 that are in the plan. She also talks about green building practices and parking lots. Funding, question, how much money is there and what are the timeframes for getting it and using it? What are the limitations in terms of what it can be used for? And decision-making, who makes the final decisions about how the money will be spent and what the timing of any construction modifications will be. The last one I have here is Kevin Gallagher, and he does have a page of items. He does not have his address on. I request that upgrades of town street lights to LED lighting not be included in the American Rescue Plan Act. Street lighting will not directly improve our quality of life in Penfield. Less wealthy municipalities may not have street lights, but that does not diminish the communities. Street lights are a lavish but unwanted extravagance. It has been established that no benefits to safety have been documented within the town of Penfield. The feeling that streetlights provide safety is a misconception. There have been studies that show no reductions of on-road casualties and crime. And then he lists a website, jecbmj.bmj.com/content/69/11/1118. Use of ARPA funds for streetlights may violate the set rules and may require repayment. Streetlights create a false sense of security. This is best understood from the perspective of a pedestrian. A pedestrian standing or walking while illuminated by a streetlight may feel safe, but drivers may not see them at all. The most recent pedestrian fatality was near an intersection with a working streetlight. The installation of streetlights have a long list of detriments related to safety. 1, streetlights are a direct source of light that is significantly brighter than other light sources. It is more likely that drivers will see the streetlight rather than people, obstacles, and hazards. Streetlights are brighter than handheld or bike-mounted light sources. Streetlights are brighter than high visibility reflective materials. Streetlights are brighter than light-colored clothing and objects. Streetlights are brighter than dark-colored clothing and objects. Number 2, streetlights significantly contribute to glare. According to a 2012 report of the American Medical Association, glare from nighttime lighting can create hazards ranging from discomfort to frank visible disability. Glare appears on windshields, dirty and clean, glasses and eyewear, eyes, especially older eyes. Number 3, streetlights illuminate vehicle dashboards, making them brighter than the road ahead. Number 4, during precipitation and fog, streetlights create a cone of bright area where the area past that cone is not visible. 5, streetlights are used by drivers as distant reference points, drawing attention away from the critical area in their immediate path. And 6, streetlights are used by drivers with reduced night vision as waypoints. This enables unsafe drivers that should not be driving at night to drive at night, posing a threat to the community. Streetlights pose additional disadvantages to health. For example, studies show artificial light at night can suppress melatonin levels, and scientists have found a link between the disruption of melatonin and several diseases, including cancer and diabetes. He does list another website, which this will be added to the record. Rather than upgrade lights, it would be better for the community to identify and remove unnecessary streetlights. Conversely, identifying the locations where a streetlight has a proven benefit may be faster, generate a much shorter list, well under 50, while removing the other 650. This would reduce costs to the community, reduce light pollution, and improve health. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. I do not have any phone calls or anything coming through the website. So seeing none there, I would declare this public hearing closed. Next steps here would be to put this item back on a work session for further discussion by the board. So thank you very much for those who attended. Yes? Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for coming. Just want to wait 1 minute for the hall to clear before we start again.
See you, Mark. Nice to see you, Mark. I'll see you. Talk to you.
Okay, folks, we do want to get going with the meeting, so I'm going to ask if you can exit. If you want to have discussions, just exit the room. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Take care.
very much. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to move forward with our second public hearing. This is to consider a proposed local law to amend Chapter 94, the building and construction of the Penfield Town Code. I do want to just refresh everyone's memory. This is actually required from the town. It's required by New York State, so the town must adopt this in full. And this was posted on the website. And would the town clerk please give an update on this?
Yeah, the legal notice was published in the Webster Herald on July 6th, posted on the town's website and town clerk bulletin board. No postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide action.
Okay. Mr. Horwitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, so 3 ways to participate. In person and by phone, 340-8771. Also on the website, penfield.org. And I'll just leave about 30 seconds just to make sure that no one is calling. Carrie, is there anything, Ms. Ivers, is there anything you'd like to add to the record for this?
No, you covered it perfectly.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I am not seeing any phone calls. No one's on hold, and no one is reaching us through the website. I seeing no one in the audience. I would then declare this public hearing closed, and this will be brought back to the work session, next work session. Thank you. All right. Our third and final public hearing this evening is public hearing number 3 to consider a proposed local law to establish a moratorium on new development applications within the mixed-use district in the town of Penfield. I know that this was discussed in work session when we set a local hearing. I do want to just give a little bit of background with Ms. Ivers' help, if that's okay.
And I do need to give the legal ease.
Yes, you do.
So also published, this legal notice was published in the Webster Herald, but this one was published on July 13th, posted on the town website and town clerk bulletin board at that time, and also no postcards were mailed due to this being a town-wide action.
Thank you. Mr. Horwitz, is this properly before the board?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. All right, for those watching at home, you can reach us at 340-8771, or you can reach us through our website at penfield.org. While I'm waiting for anyone to call in, I do want to just make clear that we did discuss this in work session. This was something that was recommended to us after we've had about 3 applications come through the mixed-use district, and we've had reports by staff, board members, and attorneys that there are some inconsistencies within our code. They don't match the manual, so we want to correct those. It's very difficult to correct code when you have applications rolling in. It's like building a plane while you're flying it. So this is why we wanted to have a moratorium. It was proposed at 6 months. Honestly, our goal is to move this through as quickly as possible. I want to be very clear to those watching at home that this is not to discuss mixed-use development, land use, or anything like that. This is really to just clear up some inconsistencies in the code and ambiguities. And we will have all this information online for you so that people can see it. Okay? And I see no one calling in, no one online either. Is anyone scheduled to speak? Did anyone submit any comments?
No, they did not.
Okay. Seeing nobody who wishes to speak, I'm going to declare this public meeting closed, and this will come back before the board for resolution. Okay. Which brings us to, pardon? And new business.
Thank you.
Okay. This brings us to our first public participation session for the evening. Again, if you would like to participate, 340-8771, or you can reach us at penfield.org. Are there any comments that you've received?
No, I have not.
Okay. All right, and if someone does call in, we do have a second participation session. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Supervisor.
Okay.
I'd like to add Penfield Town Board Resolution 22T-190, approving the adoption of local law number 3 of 2022 to be known as the Mixed-Use District Moratorium Law.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call vote? Or
No vote on.
Acclamation? Okay.
No vote, just we're adding it.
Thank you. Moving on to the approval of minutes from June 15th, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilperson Ockenden and a second by Councilperson Kohl. Are there any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes.
All right. I'd like to ask the town attorney, the town clerk, or the town board members if they have received any petitions.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, and we'll move on to resolutions by function.
Authorization to attend 2022 New York State Assessors Association Annual Meeting and Seminar on Assessment Administration.
So moved.
Second.
So whereas the New York State Assessors Association Annual Fall Conference has been scheduled at Fort William Henry Conference Center in Lake George, New York, September 18th through September 21st. And this conference is designed to keep our assessors updated on changes in laws and procedures and provides the state-required continuing education opportunities. So now, therefore, be it resolved that our Penfield assessor, Chris Lyon, is hereby authorized to attend the 2022 New York State AA Annual Meeting and Seminar on Assessment and Administration in Lake George. The funds for this conference are included in the 2020 budget and will not exceed $963. Thank you.
I have a motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Kohl. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Adopting final order establishing Penfield Ambulance District Number 3.
Yes, so moved. Second. Thanks. Thank you. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield, pursuant to Section 209F of the Town Law, hereby adopts the final order establishing the Penfield Ambulance District Number 3 attached hereto and made a part hereof. So whereas the public hearing was held on this at the time of this resolution and order, and all persons desiring to be heard were heard. Now, therefore, be it hereby ordered as follows. The Penfield Ambulance District Number 3 is hereby established substantially in accordance with the aforesaid map, plan, and report, and the district shall be bound and described as set forth in Exhibit A, attached hereof, and made part hereof. The amount to be extended for the annual service will not exceed $75,000 and shall be borne and payable from assessments levied upon and collected from several lots and parcels of the land located within the entire area of the Penfield Ambulance District Number 3 in the same manner and in the same time as other town charges. The town clerk of the town of Penfield is hereby authorized and directed to cause a certified copy of this order and attached resolution to be duly recorded in the Monroe County Clerk's office within 10 days after the adoption of this order. The town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to file the certified copy of this order and attached resolution in the office of the State Department of Audit and Control in Albany, New York, within 10 days after the adoption of this order. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Lee. Are there any questions or comments related to this?
I just want to mention that I do have the order prepared and ready for all signatures for the town board after the meeting.
Thank you very much. All right, roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing to consider adopting local law number 5 of 2022 to amend section 22-7 of the Penfield Code of Ethics to change from a 3-member board to a 5-member board.
So moved.
Second.
So whereas the Town Board of the Town of Penfield desires to change the number of members of the Penfield Board of Ethics from 3 members to 5 members. The Penfield Town Board is best suited to act as the lead agency of this with the meaning of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is seeker, and thus does hereby designate itself as lead agency pursuant to seeker. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board which shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on August 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. on the date to consider this proposal and to hear all persons interested on the question of the adoption of local law number 5 of 2022, which would provide for a 5-member Board of Ethics. A copy of the said law is attached hereto and made part hereof as a Schedule A. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to publish and post a notice of the public hearing on the official signboard of the town in the manner prescribed by law, the first publication thereof to be not less than 5 days and not more than 30 days before the date set for this public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to remind everyone that this was something we discussed back in March, and we do need to amend our bylaws or town code to address this. All right, motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Ockenden. If there are no questions or comments, we'll do a roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Appointment of school tax collector for the 2022-2023 school year for the Wayne Central School District.
So moved.
Second.
So Section 37 of the Town Law of New York provides that collection of school taxes in the first towns is the duty in the first-class towns is the duty of the town receiver of taxes and assessments unless a resolution is adopted by the town board to convey this responsibility to the tax collector appointed by the Board of Education. So whereas Penfield is one of 6 first-class townships within the boundaries of the Wayne Central School District, and the tax receiver was appointed by the Wayne Central Board of Education as the school Wayne Central School District portion of the town of Penfield for the 2022-2023 school year. So now, therefore, be it resolved that the Penfield Town Board hereby approves the appointment of Deborah Dominic as the school tax collector for the Wayne Central School District portion of the properties in our town of Penfield. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Kohl. And I think if there are no questions, we'll do a roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for Town Supervisor to sign a professional service contract with ATIP Control Inc. for a pond cattail and reed spray for Harvest Glen Pond and Tollwood Pond.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. So the town of Penfield saw quotes for professional and pond treatment services to obtain the necessary permits from both the United States Army Corps and the New York State DEC, and complete cattail treatments for 2 pond locations within our town of Penfield. Whereas quotes were sought and ATIP Control was the low bidder, and whereas the board discussed extending this program at its January 12th work session and decided to continue with these treatments. So therefore be it resolved that ATIP of 5681 Zurfast Road in Dansville, New York, is awarded a contract to provide these professional services for pond treatment projects within the town of Penfield. Be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign a contract with ATIP Control Incorporated for professional services not to exceed $3,500. Thank you. I know this is something we've done before.
Yes, and Eric, I don't know if you would like to address this for the board.
Sure. So we did start this program a number of years ago. We've also, and I guess it was originally brought up with the Watershed Management Committee, in an effort to, kind of address some of the issues that we've got with our stormwater management ponds, as well as hopefully, prolong or avoid having to come in and dredge these ponds, but to ensure their functionality. So I think it's, what we've done in the past, we have seen good results with that and has been successful, and in my opinion, should continue.
So my understanding is if they're unchecked, the cattails will actually harm the outlet structures?
They will. They'll plug them up. They cause drainage issues. The pond will then, either end up, backing up, potentially into neighborhoods, if left unchecked, could end up impacting properties and homes, and or flooding the actual pond and kind of the surrounding area.
Thank you very much. Sure. I have a motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Lee. Were there any questions for our Director of Public Works? Okay, roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing for an amendment to the zoning ordinance and map to consider rezoning of 1506 Empire Boulevard from residential 112 to limited business.
So moved.
Second.
An application has been received by the Penfield Town Board pursuant to Chapter 250-15.1 of the Code to amend the zoning ordinance and map to rezone 1506 Empire Boulevard from residential 112 to limited business. Be it resolved, therefore, that the Penfield Town Board is best suited to act as a lead agency within the meaning of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is seeker, and thus does hereby designate itself as lead agency pursuant to seeker. The Town Board in Penfield shall hold a public hearing on August 17th to consider the said application and to hear all persons interested on the question of amending the zoning ordinance and map to rezone 1506 Empire Boulevard from residential to limited business. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution is certified by the town clerk shall be published in at least once in the official newspaper of the town. The first publication, therefore, not to be less than 10 days, nor more than 20 days before the date set for the hearing. A copy of this resolution should be posted on the official signboard of the town as prescribed by law. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to set a public hearing by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Ockenden. If there are no comments or questions, we can move to a roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Budget amendment in the general fund for Dayton's Corners.
So moved.
Second.
And whereas the annual Dayton's Corners School Pie Social held in June was a well-attended event, and many donations were received in support of such events. So whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to the current appropriations and revenues, so be it resolved that the following 2022 budget amendment be approved. In donations for Dayton's Corners in the amount of $325 to go from revenue to go to appropriations to the Dayton's Corners expenses in the same amount of $325. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Kohl. Any questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a contract with sewer equipment for pump station preventative maintenance services.
So moved.
Second.
Whereas the Director of Public Works desires to obtain a service contract that would provide the town of Penfield with preventative maintenance services for the 22 town-owned sanitary sewer pump stations and related equipment. And whereas Sewer Equipment is a sole source local vendor for Gorman Rupp equipment and maintenance, and whereas the proposal received from Sewer Equipment meets the expectation and specifications as set by the Department of Public Works. And whereas the total funds of $42,176 are available in the 2022 Sewer Department budget, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign a service contract with Sewer Equipment located in Rochester for preventative maintenance services for the town's sanitary sewer pump stations. This resolution and the proposal submitted by Sewer Equipment shall constitute the contract. This agreement to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney. Be it further resolved, the following transfer with the Sewer Department is hereby authorized, as noted in the resolution. Thank you.
All right, would the Director of Public Works like to just comment on this?
Sure. So similar, for those of you that have personal vehicles, you bring your vehicles in for oil changes, you bring it in for New York State inspection annually. This would be similar to our, to what we'd be doing for our pump stations itself. It'd be preventative maintenance as far as, oil changes. It'd be making sure that, all the belts are shimmed, that they're aligned correctly, that we're adjusting wear plates and seal plates. It would also be, extensive testing of all of the controllers and the actual electronic equipment within these stations to make sure that there's proper functionality and that these are working as designed and as optimal as possible. We do, with that said, we also do have a new sewer foreman working for us, started a few weeks ago. While he has some familiarity with pumps and came from another town, he doesn't have the best knowledge of what we actually have within our town, and certainly the 22 different stations and their individual kind of quirks. So, this would be a training opportunity for him to work alongside their Seward's technicians to fully understand, what to look for to make sure that our stations are working correctly. They can point out, things, to help him and myself along with things to kind of consider for, potential replacement, upgrades, things that are starting to, wear, things that need to kind of be taken care of, in the short term as well as the long term with these. So I think it'll set us up, give him a better understanding of what we currently have, and make sure that everything's working as designed.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the director? Okay, I have a motion by Councilperson Lee and a second by Councilperson Ockenden. And roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes.
All right, that concludes our resolutions by function. We don't have any old business before the board that I'm aware of. I would like to bring the new business before the board to discuss the moratorium this evening and see how board members are feeling about it. My concern about moving forward after the public hearing is that I don't want a flurry of applications to come in by having something wait out a month or so. Mr. Horwitz and I also would ask you to chime in on this about that.
I think that would be a wise decision tonight to implement the moratorium, keep the status quo, and work on a concentrated effort to do the amendments and try to get those accomplished within the 6 months. I think it's a good idea.
Would this be, how would we do that for new business this evening?
Well, it's been added to the agenda.
Okay.
So I would have Law and Finance Chairman make a motion to approve the adoption of this local law.
And I just want to read into the record the actual name of this new business, which is approving the adoption of local law number 3 of 2022 to be known as the Mixed-Use District Moratorium Law.
Okay. I do want to also make sure that the board has time to discuss, but I'll have Councilperson Drawe read it now.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Whereas the town board has determined that modifications are needed in the mixed-use district regulations contained in section 250-5.12 of the town code, and the guidance and requirements set forth in the mixed-use development manual in order to provide clarity and consistency in the development review process in this district. And the town needs to suspend the consideration of any future applications while it reviews and updates as needed the existing regulations, requirements, considerations, and procedures for review. So whereas the proposed moratorium would not apply to any current applications received in or under review before the adoption of this resolution, the town board has designated itself as the lead agency and classified this action as a Type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is seeker, and no additional environmental review of this action is deemed necessary. So whereas the town board held a public hearing tonight here at the Penfield Town Hall to consider the said proposal and to hear all persons interested on the question of the adoption of local law number 3. So now therefore be it resolved that this is hereby enacted by the town board for the town of Penfield as followed. And there are 10 sections of this. Among them, I know the purpose and intent was already mentioned as, by the supervisor and by the town attorney. The duration of this local law shall be in effect for a period of 6 months from this effective date. And then the effective date of this local law should take place immediately upon filing with the New York State Department of the state. Believe that's, the rest are covered in detail. Thank you.
Okay. I know we do have a motion before us by Councilperson Drawe and a second by Councilperson Kohl. I do want to make sure that we're discussing and any questions are answered.
Well, we have discussed it at work session. It's not new to us, and I think it's been explained fairly well tonight why we're doing it and the urgency of it, and we have our town attorney agreeing with that, so I certainly support it.
Pass it anyway.
Anything else?
I would agree, given the inconsistencies in the code. I believe it's important to move this forward without any delays at this point to correct and modify these inconsistencies.
And as you mentioned, Madam Supervisor, you did say this is in effect for 6 months, but possibly we would have it done before then, in a perfect world.
I am hoping to move it along pretty quickly.
Right. So I think 6 months is a very fair amount of time. I believe that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, roll call vote.
Cinti.
Aye.
Drawe.
Aye.
Kohl.
Aye.
Lee.
I'm going to abstain. Thank you.
Abstain. And Ockenden.
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 abstention.
Okay, this brings us to our second public participation session.
Before we get
yes.
to public participation, Amy has noticed a discrepancy in the numbers of the local law. Apparently, we had a public hearing tonight on local law proposed number 2, which involved Chapter 94. So that has not been formally adopted yet. So if we could make a technical correction to the previous motion to refer to it as, instead of local law number 3, refer to it as local law number 2.
Okay. So just to read into the record, that's approving the adoption of local law number 2 of 2022 to be known as the mixed-use district moratorium law.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I will have that all updated before we send to the state.
Okay. And also, I'd just like to enter into the record also Section 3, the first paragraph, there is a typo in the 4th line down. It is not revolve, it is resolve. Okay.
That's a good catch. Yeah.
All right. We are now at our second public participation session. Again, 340-8771, or you can reach us at penfield.org. I am not seeing anyone just yet. We'll give that a minute. There is no need for an executive session this evening, and our next legislative session will be August 3rd, 2022, August already. Still not seeing anyone online or on the phone. So seeing none, I would declare this public participation session closed and this meeting adjourned at 9:35 p.m. I'd like to thank Greg, our town clerk, and certainly our town attorney this evening for his years of service. And thank you to PCTV for all their help. Thank you also to the Director of Public Works for sitting here so patiently.
This was a 40-year meeting.